Here's the Cornstalk Hotel, famously known for its corn stalks. All kinds of stories go about why the corn stalks, but the fact is the architects in the early 1800s had catalogs, and they could look up the kind of fence they wanted, and they could order it out of a catalog, and it would be shipped down from Philadelphia. And so that is, you might say that's Cornstalk number 27 out of a catalog.
So the legend is not true?
The legend that the lady from back in Iowa lived in the building, and her husband put the cornstalk fence here so she would feel like she was back in Iowa is another one of the myths. This is one of the unusual houses that is set back. It was built well after the Spanish period when all the houses were brought up to the banquette. We're on Royal Street now, and this is home to antique shops. The other great view that we get looking down Royal Street is you see the Central Business District, which is the American sector. Notice the magnificent buildings. That's where the old St. Charles Hotel used to stand, where you see that beautiful building right at the end of Royal Street down there. Royal is a must-do when you come to New Orleans. You got to do Royal Street.
Absolutely.
And then the other one is Charters. Here we are at St. Anne Street. Notice the magnificent corner galleries that you see here. Exciting shopping can be done down along here. And then we're coming up to St. Anthony's Garden, which was named after one of the early priests in New Orleans. As you look into it, it's a beautiful, serene scene looking up to the back of the cathedral. Now right here you have Pirates Alley, which goes down and comes out alongside the Cabildo that we saw briefly on Pirates Alley. For instance, there is a home, that yellow building down there where Faulkner Bookstore is. That's where William Faulkner wrote his first novel, Soldier's Pay. And on the next street, St. Peter's Street, almost in the same position on St. Peter's Street, Tennessee Williams had a flat in the upstairs under a big skylight, and that's where he struggled writing a play, and he kept struggling and struggling to get his play written. And at that time the streetcar line came right down Royal Street, and every night that streetcar named Desire literally would come clanking down Royal Street, and he found a name for his famous play. And every year we have the Tennessee Williams Literary Festival that takes place in the old Le Petit Theatre just down the street here. This is our A&P store since 1930. The rest of America lost their A&P stores, but the old French Quarter couldn't give up its A&P store, so we still have an A&P store. And just ahead at 533 Royal is the home of the historic New Orleans collection. That building, built in 1792 by Jean-Francois Miriou, just barely survived the second Great Fire of 1794. The collection's Williams Research Center is located 2 blocks away on Charter Street. And now we're turning on St. Peter. There's Pat O'Brien's. Pat O'Brien's is told to be the retail liquor establishment that sells more liquor retail than any other establishment in the world, and it is because of their famous drink called the Hurricane. And they are literally shipped out in boxes around the world. Amazing story. Beyond this, you see a building, Preservation Hall, that it looks well worn. Well, it is the place where old musicians meet nightly, and that's where they play. It's not a bar. You can't buy a drink in there. They'll only allow about 30 or 40 people in the room. You go sit and listen to the jazz, and it is solely for the preservation of jazz, and you get to hear some of the greats and old jazz musicians in New Orleans play in the style of the old brass bands. So that's pretty much the story of New Orleans, Jean-Jacques.
Well, it's very interesting.
When you realize the French Quarter is not just a part of New Orleans, the French Quarter was the original city of New Orleans. This is where it began. Jean-Jacques, I'm going to get down here and then I'll shake your hand after I get down.
Hey, thank you so much.
I never tire of learning about the old French Quarter, the Vieux Carré. I learn something new every day. We saw the French Quarter today from the street side. But there's a whole other world out there behind the shutters, in the courtyards. In Volume 2 of The Keys of the Quarter, we'll explore the courtyards of the Quarter.